Thank you for your interest in Wisconsin's Preschool Development Grant. My name is Erin Arango Escalante, and I am the Administrator for the Division of Early Care and Education at the Department of Children and Families. In collaboration with the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, the Department of Children and Families was recently awarded a $10 million grant to focus on connecting the dots for all Wisconsin's children. That means that we are going to strengthen our birth through 5 state system and regional networks of support. I'm going to share with you the vision and rationale for why we need to focus on our birth through 5 system and beyond. I'm going to talk about the structure of our preschool development grant, including the partners, our stakeholders, and our regional system of support. I will also share our preschool development grant logistics, such as the scope as well as the timeline. And finally, I'll talk about ways that you can get involved. Governor Evers frequently says, "What's best for our children is what's best for our state." To that sentiment, our preschool development grant application talks about this vision. This vision is that all Wisconsin families will have access to high quality, affordable, and local early care and education opportunities that meet the needs of their family. Our goal is by 2023, this will become a reality. We know that in Wisconsin, there are a number of issues that we face around equity inclusion. And specifically, there are issues around accessibility, affordability, quality in workforce that not only impacts our early care and education community, but beyond. Let's start with accessibility. 54% of our state is considered a child care desert, which means that with any given zip code, there are 30 children, and there's only 1 slot for every 3 children available. This is a major issue, and we see it happening across our state. Next, affordability. The cost of early care and education has gone up, and many families are unable to afford it. You may hear statistics that infant and toddler care is more expensive than in-state college tuition, and this is true. Next, quality. There has been a decrease in the number of programs participating in Youngstar. We also know that the term quality means different things for different people. We are going to be addressing what quality looks like in our state and communities. Finally, the workforce. We know that early care and education providers oftentimes make just above $10 an hour. That is the median wage for our workforce. This is a problem, especially because they are required to meet specific education requirements and receive credentials, ongoing professional development, but they are also taking care of our future, those who are ages birth to 5. Many states are dealing with this exact issue. We need to fairly compensate those who are working with our children. Within our preschool development grant, there are specific structures that we would like to put in place. We know that children and families are at the core of everything that we do. We also know that early care and education programs such as Head Start, child care, home visitation, birth to 3, early childhood special ed, and 4-year-old kindergarten are those who impact our children and families the most. They are the closest. Those regions and communities have robust and comprehensive networks of support that are able to support their ongoing work with young children and families. And finally, the state. The state is here to support those regions, communities, programs, and ultimately improve outcomes for our children and families. There are partnerships across many areas, including workforce, economic security, housing, public health, and K-12 education that are in place in order to support our children and families and improve outcomes for all. Here you will see the regional structure that we are putting in place to make sure we are able to support regions, thus supporting those programs and ultimately supporting our children and families. As you can see, there are 5 regions on this map. We have the North, the Northeast, the Southeast, the South, and the West. We are using these regions to be able to create those comprehensive networks of support across all sectors who are touching the lives of young children and families. Wisconsin was awarded a 1-year preschool development grant that is a primary focus on planning. The goal of this grant is to create a robust and comprehensive needs assessment as well as a strategic plan to make sure that we are strengthening our state system of support for all children and families. This plan includes developing a needs assessment. This needs assessment includes qualitative and quantitative data collection. It also includes listening sessions that will happen throughout our state. And finally, our needs assessment also involves doing a current scan of those reports that are available that include health, housing, economic security, etc. Using the information obtained from the needs assessment, we will be creating a Birth Through 5 statewide strategic plan. This strategic plan will address barriers as well as opportunities that were found in the needs assessment and allow us to be innovative and create both a statewide plan as well as regional work plans that are specific to each region in the state. We know that there are differing issues within accessibility, affordability, quality, and workforce within our state. Although these two specific activities, the needs assessment and strategic plan, need to happen in sequential order, we are able to focus on maximizing parental choice and knowledge and sharing best practices throughout the 2020 year. Finally, as part of our grant, in order to begin our last activity, improving overall quality, we will need to have a completed and approved strategic plan. Here are some of the high-level details of our preschool development grant. This grant is a 1-year, $10 million grant. It's going to happen during the calendar year 2020. This grant has 5 core areas, which you can see here. First, we need to develop a needs assessment. This needs assessment will be done by the end of spring of 2020. We are using different methods in order to develop this needs assessment. 1, we're doing a scan of current reports and needs assessments that exist throughout the state. They could highlight things at the county level as well as the regional level. Number 2, we are conducting interviews and surveys to gather additional and specific information around the areas of accessibility, affordability, quality, and workforce. And then 3, we are hosting multiple listening sessions across the state to gather stakeholders' voices and feedback. We want to know what needs do they have from their varying perspectives. We hope to have folks who are involved in early care and education, so folks from Head Start, child care, home visiting, 4-year-old kindergarten, birth through 3, early childhood special ed school districts. We also hope to go beyond to include those from workforce, housing, public health, pediatricians, other systems and fields that really touch the lives of young children and families. When we're done with our needs assessment, again in late spring of 2020, we will start creating our Birth Through 5 strategic plan. This strategic plan will address those issues, again, accessibility, affordability, quality, workforce, within the context of equity and inclusion, and will be statewide. What's interesting is that we will also go to those 5 regions that I just shared and create 5 regional work plans that really contextualize the needs that are within those regions. The needs vary across regions, and we need to be strategic in how we address those issues. Although the grant requires the needs assessment and an approved strategic plan by the federal government, we can also begin working on maximizing parental choice and knowledge, as well as sharing best practices throughout the 2020 calendar year. One important thing to note is that when we receive approval for that strategic plan, we are now able to work on improving overall quality. The funding for improving overall quality will include innovative grant funding that will be available to folks at the local and regional levels. More information will be available about those opportunities as we conclude that statewide strategic plan, which will happen in early fall of 2020. I also want to talk about the structure and how we are going to be systemic and sustainable beyond the Preschool Development Grant. Our governor, the First Lady, and cabinet agencies and the state superintendent from the Department of Public Instruction are forming our Leadership Council on Early Years. Their charge is to look holistically across all programs that touch the lives of young children and families to be able to connect the dots across policy and practice. Additionally, the Governor's Early Childhood Advisory Council will also be overseeing the work specifically around our needs assessment and strategic plan. Next, we will have interagency work groups across the various departments who are working together to put that strategic plan into practice. At the next level, we have the various work groups that match our 5 regions: the North, the Northeast, the West, the South, and the Southeast. These work groups are currently being created. They're helping to bring people together from the various perspectives for these listening sessions and opportunities for feedback. They also will be in charge of developing the work plans that come out of the strategic plan. We know we have a very diverse group of stakeholders who will be involved in this process throughout the entire grant period and beyond. Now you will see a snapshot of that timeline. As you can see, we have 2020 to focus on maximizing parental knowledge and sharing best practices. There are a number of activities that will be happening to support those efforts. Currently, we are working on the needs assessment. As I mentioned before, it does have multiple components, but most importantly for you, I'm hoping that you're able to attend one of those regional listening sessions that will be occurring from the end of February through April. After that needs assessment, as I mentioned earlier, we are developing a strategic plan and ultimately very specific work plans for our regions. After that strategic plan has been developed, we will then focus on improving overall quality with thinking about innovative approaches to addressing the issues that we saw in the needs assessment. One final thing to note is that we will be applying for subsequent funding for the next round of the Preschool Development Grant funding for the following years. The exact timeline and the exact number of years is to be determined, but Wisconsin is invested in truly transforming the landscape of early care and education. Here are your next steps. I encourage you to visit the Preschool Development Grant website and join our mailing list if you haven't done so already. Please feel free to share resources with your colleagues and throughout your networks. These resources will be updated as they are developed. I encourage you to participate in surveys, interviews, and focus groups as they become available. Information will be sent via the listserv and will be shared on this website. Very importantly, I encourage you to attend those listening sessions that are available throughout the state. Again, they will be starting at the end of February and running through April. We do have specific listening sessions for the needs assessment, but we will also have those sessions available as we develop the strategic plan. We want your feedback on that strategic plan as well. All of those dates and the registration link will be available on the website. And finally, if you are interested, I encourage you to become a member of a regional work group. Contact information to join a work group, which will be meeting throughout 2020, will be available on this website as well. And finally, I want to thank you for your interest in the Preschool Development Grant. This is a huge undertaking. It involves many agencies, many partners, and many folks at the local, regional, and state levels. This could not be done without the help of all. I am excited that we are going to move the needle in the areas of access, affordability, quality in workforce within the context of equity and inclusion for the children and families in our state. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at these listening sessions. Thank you.